Sydney Sweeney, Isabella Merced, and Celeste O'Connor. Crack.
Ladies and gentlemen, you know that sound. You know that means that it's another episode of A Beer and Review. This is episode 64, Madam Web and Duchesse Red. And more importantly, what this is episode 1 of season 3 of the podcast, boys.
Absolutely. We have made it.
Good work. Good work. So I'm your host for the evening, Luke Walker, joined by my dearest friends in this entire world, Mr. Lane Good.
Season 2 voice of the audience here. Hello, boys.
Shut up. And Mr. Keith Fuchs.
Season 2 voice of the critics, back to back.
Also shut up. What's up, guys?
It's been a while since we've sat here and we've done the podcast. It's been 2 or 3 weeks. We've all gotten kind of into some summer or some end of winter, spring shenanigans. I'm excited to catch up with you boys and discuss life and movies and all the good stuff that we get to do every week. And it's just a pleasure to be back here in our little screens together.
Yeah, I mean so we took a little bit of time off after the Oscars. Obviously, we cranked out like 10 movies in a month, maybe a month and a half, and did
6 weeks or so.
Yeah, did 11 episodes, and so I think we were a little burned out. So it was a nice little bit of time away, but I'm really happy to be back. Future, how you doing, bud?
I wish I could pick an NCAA tournament champion like I can pick critics' scores on fucking movies, because my pick for the tournament just went down, and I'm a bit bitter about it. And I'm going to try not to bring this bitterness into our podcast this evening. So, hopefully our Duchesse Red puts me in a nice, cheery mood.
A 7% sour will do that to you. It'll bring the cherry. The cherry will bring the cheery out of you.
It might. It's a sweet cherry sour. I don't really know. All right, guys. Well, let's get some housekeeping matters out of the way. So this is, like I said, it's our 64th episode, and it is our first episode of what we're calling season 3. We basically have broken our seasons up based on the Academy Awards being the final episode of the season. We need the listeners out there. We need some likes. We need some subscribes. We need all the things. Leave the reviews. And we're also looking to do things a little bit different here in season 3. We want to bring on some guests. So if there's listeners out there who are dying to be on an episode, dude, let us know. Maybe if you don't suck, we'll let you on. We're also looking for like movie recommendations. If there's something you really want us to review, let us know. We'll do it, because we're kind of just pulling movies out of the ether, pretty random for the most part. So let us know on that front. Get involved. Leave us some comments on Twitter at A Beer and Review. We're gonna be hyping up the Instagram and the YouTube a little bit more. So let's get after it here in season 3. Let's make this thing real. And I think we should set a goal for ourselves in season 3. Let's get a sponsor on this bitch. Should we?
Hey, that is a goal that we would love. You don't even have to pay us.
You don't even have to pay us. You could give us something, or you could just let us use your name. Yeah, like Total Wine. I'm looking at you. We'll name we'll name a segment after you. It's called the Total Wine, WHINE. Let us know. Yeah, let us know. So that's kind of the housekeeping, the back of the house stuff. I want to say it, and manifest it, get it out there into the world, right? Make it more real. Hey, you guys got anything to add, or should we get into this thing?
I do just want to, the last time we all sat down, we had our Oscar predictions.
Right.
And some of us did better than others. I went through and I watched the Oscars twice. Once for just to be captivated by it, and then the second to dive a little bit deeper into these games and these bets that I come up with. So even though Luke is absolute dog shit at being the voice of the critics and the audience, I do want to give him his shout out for getting 19 possible points in the Oscar game. Out of how many? Who knows? But basically, I do those. I did what? I asked 15 questions. You'd gotten 10 of the 15 right. So good job on you. And then you got 9 of the Oscar categories correct. Let's see, you got film editing, sound, cinematography, best picture, best actress, best supporting. So you kind of hit a lot of the big ones, best director. So I do want to give you a little bit of a shout out there, Lucas. Congratulations to you for being our man who is in touch with the Oscars.
What it sounds like to me is you guys won some regular season awards and your boy came through in the playoffs.
That's what it sounds like, huh? Keith, you came in second at 16 points, so right on the heels there. You had 8 of the silly kind of stupid questions that I ask, and then you got 8 of the categories right. We all got best picture, but you got best actor, best director, best supporting.
Just want to put this out there. If I wasn't basically asleep for the last half of the Oscar picks, I might have.
Done a bit better. I was absolutely hammered for the that Oscar game. I do want to give you a little bit of shout out here, Keith. You were the only person who got makeup and hairstyling. You guessed Poor Things. Luke, I'll give you your shout out. You're the only one who got visual effects with Godzilla, and I am the only one who got animated feature with The Boy and the Heron. But I did get last place.
By the way, I would like to bring up biggest Oscar, just the most wrong thing I've ever seen with Spider-Man Across the Universe not winning animated feature. Oh my god. I was floored. I'm still floored.
That is
so I got
pretty despicable.
Unbelievable. This is absolutely despicable.
So I got 8 of the fun questions right, which means Keith and I tied. Luke, you ran away with 10 of those. I only got 6 of the Oscar, guesses correct. But again, I was absolutely shit-faced. So we're going to blame it on that.
You are Luke, pathetic loser.
You are one pathetic loser. So Luke, shout out to you. You're our, Super Bowl champ, for lack of a better word. But good on you. And I am ready to put this behind us and get into season 3 and some Madam Web.
Oh, we're starting off with a bang.
Let's do it, boys. So we wanted a little bit of a palate cleanser, right? We did some very serious, deep movies. And so we were kind of looking for something a little bit more, I don't know, with a little levity to it, right? And I had thought about Ricky Stenicki, but Lane, you had already watched that. By the way, actually, you guys watched anything since? Let's do that segment before we get into the movie.
Sure. I mean, you just brought it up. I did watch Ricky Stenicki. I've really been in kind of a comedy phase. I watched all the Austin Powers. I watched Idiocracy. But the one that really stood out to me that I hadn't seen in a while was Euro Trip. Just an absolute juggernaut of an early 2000s comedy. It is still hilarious to this day. I watched a lot of movies over the break, but that one was one that I thoroughly enjoyed from start to finish. Not much to say about it.
Eurotrip's one of my all-time favorites. My Instagram, my bio on Instagram, since I created my Instagram account and to this day, is just, this isn't where I parked my car.
Brilliant.
So good.
Oh, Scotty doesn't know. That is a good one. Well done, Lane. I've just been watching a lot of NCAA basketball, which has been very enjoyable and frustrating as a Nevada fan, and just a man that can never seem to win a bracket, even though I watch a lot of college basketball. But I just want to tell a story. It's not something I watched on TV, but I went on a date the other night with my beloved wife, and we went to ended up at BJ's randomly for dinner, and I thought this was an appropriate story for this beer and review podcast, because I ordered an amber to start the evening, and waitress puts my order in, and then I'm looking at the bar. I'm watching. This is what I'm watching. We're sitting in the bar area, and I'm watching the bartender pour this beer into a glass that is full of foam, straight foam. And then the bartender grabs a pitcher and puts that under the tap. And I look at the tap and I go, I hope to God that isn't my beer. And she pours a fucking entire pitcher full of foam from my tap. And I'm thinking, this is going to be horrible. I hope that the bartender tells my waitress that this tap is fucked and that she shouldn't give me this beer. And then the bartender takes the glass full of foam, takes the pitcher full of foam, and starts combining the two. And sits there for like 5 minutes, combining the two until there's enough foam out of the glass that she can hand the beer off to the waitress. And the waitress takes the beer and brings it over to me, not knowing what I just fucking witnessed. The debauchery, the fucking horrible fucking shit that I just watched with my own 2 eyes. And she brings me the beer. And I hoped in my heart of hearts that it was still going to taste as it should, as a good, freshly poured beer. And it tasted like ass.
Yeah, I'm guessing it didn't taste
like
good.
Absolute fucking ass. And to any bartenders out there, any waitresses out there, waiters, waitresses, barkeeps, if
barkeep is the best word for it.
Is not getting poured correctly, and a tap is not working right, just fucking tell the customer, don't give him that fucking beer, give him the option for something else, and don't fucking give it to him. It's fucking awful. And me being the nice guy I didn't want to put it on the waitress, so I just drank it as fast as possible, held my nose and drank it, and got a new one. But it was fucking despicable. And I hope that people, all 5 of our listeners, if one of you is a bartender, please take this lesson and note it for the future. Do not give people a shit beer like that, because it will ruin their fucking evening.
That's and all. ladies and gentlemen, this has been a Total Wine brought to you maybe one day.
Maybe one day.
Yeah, we're looking at you, Total
Wine.
Nice. Well, I've watched a couple things. I randomly watched episode 4, New Hope of Star Wars the other day, just because every once in a while I like to watch the Star Wars movies. But more importantly, I watched The Godfather. I just kind of was in a Godfather mood the other day. My goodness, that movie is a goddamn masterpiece. There's no questions why that movie is widely regarded by many as the greatest film of all time or one of the great films. That movie is spectacular. It is so good. Oh my god, I've had to stop thinking about it. I've seen it a few times. I think this might have been my first time ever though watching it with subtitles, which was a game changer because Marlon Brando as Don Corleone, a little mumbly, he's got this stuff, kind of like this thing, kind of thing. So, goddamn, what a fantastic film, which is a perfect segue into the contrast of what this movie was. So this movie that we watched for the podcast, like I mentioned, we were looking for something a little lighter. I knew this movie had come out, and I knew that it did not get great reviews. I knew there were some jokes about it. Madam Web, the 2024 film directed by S.J. Clarkson, starring Dakota Johnson, Sydney Sweeney, Adam Scott, not the golfer Adam Scott.
Derek from Step Brothers, Adam Scott.
Yep. Celeste O'Connor, Isabel Merced, and some other people who you don't
it was actually
need to know the names of.
We can get into it later, but actually surprisingly not star-studded, but B-list cast of people that I was like, wow, this is
it was a half decent B-list cast. Yeah. I mean, Sydney Sweeney has kind of upped herself into,
she's blown up a bit,
A- list at least. She just hosted SNL. She was obviously the star of the HBO show, Euphoria. She was in another like rom-com recently, Anyone But You, I think is what it was called. And so she's kind of like a person, right? Especially if you're on social media, like everyone is just fawning over her all the time, for good reason. So, decent B-list cast. And what this is it's a Sony Spider-Man movie, right? So I don't know. I think we should we start off the conversation with why these movies exist?
Yeah,
You
I
guys,
mean, I think
you guys
you
want to get
guys
into
would.
that?
You might know a little bit better than me, but from my understanding, Sony owns Spider-Man, and they kind of put it on rent to Marvel. And I think part of the deal is, they can kind of mention it or make references to it because they technically own it, and so they're trying to collect as much money in this Marvel superhero hype as they can.
It's the
Um,
one franchise when Sony sold all the Marvel material to Disney that Sony wanted to hang on to was
yeah,
Spider-Man and its
which
affiliates.
is a great
Well,
idea, and they've done
so
ass with it.
so sort of, but what has happened, right, was this actually started back in the 80s. Marvel was a comic book company, right? And I suppose that at a certain time in the 80s that comic books just weren't paying the bills, right? So they were looking to uh, sell some of their intellectual property, namely Spider-Man. They sold it to some company in Hollywood that shortly thereafter went out of business. There was some litigation, and the result of all of this was that Sony came to a deal with Marvel to buy the Spider-Man, the rights to make Spider-Man movies, and I think also the X-Men movies. But for this conversation, we'll just talk about the Spider-Man, right? So they got the rights to make Spider-Man movies, and part of this deal, part of whatever the settlement was that they had to make a Spider-Man movie every 5 years on average, like 5 years and 9 months, so almost every 6 years, basically. Um, and so this really the kind of the first time that Sony made a Spider-Man movie was Spider-Man, the Tobey Maguire one, that kind of was the first big Spider-Man movie of like our lifetime, right? And that was met with huge success, I believe, right? I don't, we can debate whether they were good or not, but there was three of those Spider-Man movies, and then there was nothing, right? And so then that's why we saw the Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield come out, because Sony has this obligation to make Spider-Man movies every 5.5 years, 6 years, or else they lose their rights to the intellectual property. So then they made those two movies. Those were pretty much gigantic flops. At which point they were like, "Oh my god, this is not working." There was some like WikiLeaks stuff that was going on with some of like the people behind the scenes talking about like, "Hey, we don't like have the rights to enough characters to like make successful movies. Like this, we're screwed." And then very shortly after, they partnered with Marvel, who was obviously in the middle of creating the MCU, this like hugely successful franchise of Marvel movies that didn't have Spider-Man in them, right? So that's when they partnered with Marvel to make the Tom Holland version of these Spider-Man movies. But we have then since seen Sony come out with these Spider-Man adjacent movies, which have been met with mixed success and reviews, right? So like Venom was from a box office perspective, Venom was pretty successful. Venom 2 was also fairly successful. Morbius was dreadful and not successful. And then like this one, I think is the other one, like the third. So like they've been kind of doing like these bad guys of the Spider-Man universe movies, and this is the first time trying to do like other characters, because Sony basically has all of the Spider-Man universe, right? So all the Spider-Man bad guys. There was supposed to be like a Craven the Hunter movie.
It's coming out this year.
That's going to come out, and like the Spider-Man adjacent shit. So this is like a Spider-Man adjacent movie. So to answer the question, because when I was watching the movie, my first question was like, why would they fucking make this movie? And the answer is because they have to, because they have to make this movie. And I guess they just don't have a ton to work with because they can't pull from the rest of the Spider-Man realm they can only do Spider-Man, which obviously begs the question of like, why not just do better Spider-Man movies with better interaction with villains? Because like, there's a ton of good Spider-Man villains. There's a ton of good Spider-Man. Like Spider-Man himself is so compelling. Like there's so much Spider-Man content. God, all my kids care about is Spider-Man. We watch Spider-Man on Disney Plus. He's got Spider-Man all of his like. Everyone fucking loves Spider-Man. I don't understand why Sony is not just like doing Spider-Man shit. Do Spider-Man versus Venom. Do like, why are we doing this goddamn movie? That's fine.
Well, Venom. I enjoyed Venom.
I liked Venom. I didn't see the second one. I liked the first one.
The first one, the second one was pretty good. It wasn't as good as the first one, but the first one was good. I'm a big Tom Hardy guy. You can't really go wrong there. Good star to pick for him. But
Venom's an incredible character.
But this, if you're like you said, Lucas, there's so much Spider-Man content. The fact that they went with a Madam Web origin story, which even Spider-Man comic, like I'm not a Spider-Man comic book fan. I don't read comic books really at all. I did when I was a little bit when I was a kid. But I've never even heard of fucking Madam Web. I would not have known. And as I was doing more research on this, because I was like, how does this fucking relate to Spider-Man? Even when you look back in the comics, it's like she was brought into like a couple of the comics in the 80s as like this old lady who could tell the future and help Spider-Man here and there. It's like, this is like one of the least important goddamn Spider-Man fucking characters you can do a movie about, and they chose to do it. What the fuck are you doing?
It's crazy.
Yeah, it was a choice, and obviously, I'm sure we'll get into the financial quarter at some point, but it was a bad choice, and that is very obvious. And you mentioned Morbius a little bit, and that at least had like, it wasn't a good movie. We can all agree on that, but there was something about.
I don't want to see it.
I did see it, and there's something about it that
unless we're going to make this a Spider-Man content flight.
Oh God, no. But that at least had something to kind of like rally behind. It was like so bad that it was good almost. Like it was something where you could watch it with your friends and enjoy laughing at this movie. And as we'll discuss, this is not that. There is no one who could watch. There's no enjoyment here. You can't get anything out of this. Really, it's a 2 hour.
Well, I will say my wife loved it, but shall we dig into the plot a little bit?
Let's get into the plot.
Okay. Before we do that, I do want to say I counted down the episodes like I do all episodes with something related to the movie.
Sure.
I said Sydney Sweeney, Isabella Merced, and Celeste Connor. They were all the actresses of characters in the movie. I hope you don't have the cast up. Can you name the name of each of the three girls, the three main characters besides Madam Web? What are their names?
Anya, Julia.
Julia, yeah, definitely.
And I want to say something with an M.
Oh, yeah,
pretty good.
Maddie.
There you go. Congratulations, boys.
M-A-T-T-I-E, Maddie. Good job.
I'm impressed. Didn't think you would have gotten there.
I wouldn't have gotten there if Keith had not got us started there. But so, like Keith said, it's the origin story of this character, Madam Web. She is a New York EMT who we find out has special powers that allow her to kind of see the future right before it happens, essentially. And the bad guy in the film is a guy who has special powers that were granted to him through being bitten by a spider, a certain type of spider. And he is on a mission to kill 3 teenage girls because he has visions every night in his dreams that these 3 teenage girls will eventually become Spider-Man superhero people and will kill him. So he is trying to kill them first before they can kill him. And there's some other stuff with Madam Web's development of her powers and her her backstory, specifically with her mom, who was searching for this
in the
spider
Amazon hunting for spiders
And-
as she died.
as she died while like 38 weeks pregnant or some shit. That's all I got. I don't think I need to get too much deeper into the overall of the story.
Let's shit on this for about an hour.
Do we want to do an AI image sesh first?
Oh yeah,
Oh, I would love to. Fuck, great.
Lane, since you're so excited about it, you go first. Bud.
I am. I was thinking about it before we started recording the episode, and I'm going to be honest. I think I lost a lot of my mojo because I thought of something really good.
And
but
for our listeners out there, we do AI. We're going to describe to Bing's Copilot, the like Microsoft Copilot AI image creation. Basically we're trying to create like a movie poster for this movie, I think is the goal. And we'll post the pictures on Twitter and you can see how we did.
And Instagram, because we're trying to get better at that.
Yep.
Let me know, share your screen there, Lucas, and I'll present it for the world.
Yeah.
But and then also let me know when you're ready, and I'm gonna whip up a wicked movie poster for you gentlemen and the fans at home. I think it is you got to start off with a psychic woman. I don't know. See, I don't know if you're going to be able to say the word kidnaps. Let's say hangs out with 3 little girls while avoiding
little girls or
3 teenage girls while avoiding creepy man.
Oh boy, man, this is gonna be bad.
And that's why we do it. Okay, I'm glad I made it through. Last week, or last episode, I had some tough times getting my AI images to create. So I'm glad I at least made it in.
You can see in the corner all my AI images for the last couple of PGA Tour events. They're really, really good.
Oh, I bet they are. Man, this is like, it's taken a lot longer than normal because it's just like generating a masterpiece. You know what I mean?
Or something.
It is definitely going to create something.
I'm not sure that it's loving the combination of teenage girls and creepy men. I think
that usually raises a red flag.
Yeah, I think they're putting me on a list right now.
Keith, did you just crack into number 2 of the Duchesse Red?
Yeah.
Yeah,
you didn't sound too excited about it. Give it a quick refresh. See what happens there. Oh,
your patience.
It's taking longer.
You're being put on an FBI list.
Yeah.
Well, we can just have someone else go. You know,
I'm gonna have Keith get going, and then we'll
come back to it. Look at this Duchesse Red. It looks exactly like Madame Web's clothing throughout the whole flick.
All right, Keith, hit us with yours while Lane's loads.
All right. Woman, spider-bitten woman.
Oh, nice.
Even though she wasn't necessarily spider-bitten, but let's go with it. Spider-bitten woman protects 3 girls from crazy spider monkey man.
Oh, okay. That's gonna give us a funny thing.
That's gonna give us some good times. You guys are good at this. Oh, see, yours is just loading right away at the bottom. Mine's still just nothing. Yeah, you see that little loading bar there at the bottom?
Yeah, for yours they got to put us on a list first.
Yeah, exactly.
Whoa!
Oh, wow. Yeah.
The monkey. It took a lot of liberties with the monkey.
It looks like Lane's loaded there on the right. Is that Lane's below mine on the right side?
Oh, sure. Oh.
No, I think
that does look like.
Yeah, I think
that does look. Yeah.
It just doesn't want to load it for us.
It just doesn't want to load it.
It's
But
too good.
It's very creepy. Okay, let's go with this. We're gonna, because I think it'll give us some liberties with Spider Woman. So I'm gonna say, woman with spider powers fights man. Well, let's see.
With also spider powers.
Fights man with spider-like abilities. And 3 teenage girls are scared.
Dance on a diner table. Oh,
yeah,
man.
Lane, yours was too creepy, dude. They were like, nah, we're not about to give you that image.
We're not going to do that.
It's funny that for both of yours, they only gave 1 image.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
wow.
Yes,
wow.
Look at that.
Look
They
at
actually
that.
brought Spider-Man into it. We got 3 teenage girls who are afraid of Spider-Man.
That's why I said Spider Monkey Man, because I didn't want the actual Spider-Man to be. That's pretty good.
That's not
pretty
terrible.
Good. What is that on the bottom?
Tiny Spider-Man. And then this thing where there's an arm coming out of a face over here. That's interesting. Oh, I like the hair. I like the hair outside of. I like the hair outside. There's some good things going on here with the double arm, the webs. That's not terrible. Yeah, it's not terrible.
Wow.
All right, that was fun. Anyways,
that was fun.
Anyways, okay. So back to our regularly scheduled programming. Yeah, so I mean, I kind of gave the movie. We kind of hit on our things. Yeah, so basically, it's like we are introduced to the story through Dakota Johnson. Cassandra Webb's mom is in the Amazon looking for the spider whose bite supposedly gives you special powers. We find out that there's like these people, these what do they call them?
They're arachne.
Aranyas, people who are like these spider-powered people in the Amazon. She, after many years or many months or whatever of searching for this spider, finds it, and her partner then kills everybody, kills her, and steals the spider. We find out that these Aranyas save the mom temporarily, deliver the baby. The mom is bitten by a spider as she's dying, so that's how Cassandra gets the spider powers, through being bitten, her mom being bitten by a spider while she's being born.
Yeah, I think we kind of need to sit. We need to kind of sit and chew on this whole little intro for a second, because it is
chew on it for us, bud.
It's utter dog shit. You guys know I like the beginning of the movie. It does a good job of either reeling you in or reeling you out. And let me tell you, I was reeled out almost immediately. We see the mom, and the very first thing we see is that she's like, holy shit, this spider is super rare and it hasn't been found in thousands of years. You know what I'm going to do? Walk around the jungle and try and find it. It's like, okay, great. She finds it. And I watched this movie, and I'll be honest, I was a little drunk, surprise, surprise. And I was like, there's something off about this. So I watched it a second time. I hate to admit it. But one of the things that's terrible about this movie is it's not just
too
the story,
much time on your hands.
Just the acting. I no kids, baby. It's not just the easy things. Like, the acting is bad, the writing is bad, but in this one, the filming and the directing is bad.
Also,
and bad? I'm using bad as like, yeah, also bad. And bad is like a nice way of saying this. Like, it's utter dog shit. But what happens in this first scene, and I counted on my second watch, is they will have a character who's talking, and they'll like zoom in for no reason. They'll be like talking and zoom in, and then it'll zoom out, and then it'll switch to a different camera angle of a different character talking, then it'll zoom in and it'll zoom out. And in that scene where Ezekiel like turns into a bad guy to steal the spider, they zoomed in and zoomed out 15 times. And it's like, this happens in 20 seconds. It's like, I got motion sick watching this movie. It was insane how this happens. And like, I told Kyla about it, and I was like, yeah, it's really crazy. They zoom in and they zoom out a bunch. And then when I showed it to her the second time, she was like, I was like, watch this. And we put it on, and instantly she was like, this is fucking terrible. I'm not watching this. And she's not a movie person. She doesn't know this kind of shit. And even for like a casual person, when you point out this, it's absolutely asinine that not only did someone think this was a good idea, but someone watched this and put it in a movie theater, because it makes zero sense. And I've never seen anything like it. And I was utterly shocked. And that is in the first 5 minutes. And this happens for 2 hours. I could not believe the opening of this movie.
My thing with the opening of the movie was the Ezekiel. Well, not only the first thing that stuck out to me at the beginning. No, I don't know who the actor is. I don't know his name. He's never gonna see this. He's fucking terrible.
He's so bad.
He is, like, from the first scene. Like, it was like, it sounded like he was in
a different room.
Person trying to speak in an English accent with a Spanish accent on it. Like a Spanish person trying to have an English accent with a Spanish accent to his English accent.
He was doing some accent inception, if you will.
It was fucking from the first words he said, I was like, oh, fuck is this guy? Who the fuck is this guy? And then so I was hoping he was just a peripheral character, and then of course he kills everybody and steals the spider, and I'm like, God, I hope that he does not come back for a long time. And then of course he's
main
the
character.
Yeah. And we have to listen to him the rest of the goddamn movie, and it was painful. And let me preface all of this by saying I knew this had terrible reviews. I knew that even the actresses from the movie said that they wish they didn't do this movie. I tried to go in with as like blinders on, as positive a mindset as possible, and off the bat, he
single-handedly
like,
oh my God, what the fuck is happening?
So, I like how let me just jump in real quick. S.J. Clarkson, the director of this film, this appears to be her first movie. Lane, what you notice with the filming, I think that could be partially a product of what she has done before, because she has pretty much exclusively produced TV miniseries, TV movies, TV stuff, right? Which I imagine are like shorter episodes a lot of the time. So probably some of that like in and out is probably like done to create drama or whatever, right? Like make the TV audience feel a certain way in a movie that is, or a film or show or whatever that is in a shorter time period. So yes, I think her inexperience clearly shows early.
And I love that the Arachne or whatever the people are called, the Aranya, I apologize. They're like this super like hidden kind of mythical group of people. And then Cassie's mom gets shot, and then they just kind of like appear.
They were literally in the trees directly above.
Yeah. And again, the way it was shot, it was like cut and move the camera and cut and move the camera. It was like, dude, what the fuck is this? Can we just have a steady shot where something happens? Like, we all gush about cinematography, especially coming out of the Oscar season, where like you can pause a movie and you look at this shot and it's beautiful. That does not happen once in this movie. It's absolute dog shit. And just them kind of popping out of nowhere and being like, oh yeah, when Cassie returns, we'll protect her. It's like, all right, here we fucking go.
Oh,
and it was
man.
it was a disgrace.
So I wanna like give the movie maybe a potential little bit of credit, right? So
I will
and you
give it
guys
credit
maybe
when it's due, but it has not been done yet.
what? Well, I don't want to go scene by scene on this movie. I'll
God,
Yeah.
kill myself. I'll kill myself. The overall idea, like theme of the the conflict in this movie, though. How did you guys feel about that? Because I kind of thought it was cool, right? Like this guy has visions that these people are going to kill him in the future. So his whole goal in life is to kill them before they kill him, because he has this dream every single night, he says. Right? Every single night he envisions these people, so he's had enough time to see them in his dreams that he can envision their faces. And then he goes through the effort of like finding an NSA employee and killing her and
We got to
stealing
talk
her
about her at some point.
credentials so that he can like hack into the NSA like camera system to find these girls. Like overall, I kind of thought that was kind of cool. That's kind of cool. That's not bad.
There's plenty of movies when someone is seeing the future and is trying to change it.
Right.
Yeah, and it works
It's not
in other movies.
It's not all that different. Like the overall kind of like that overarching theme story is not all that different from most of like the Marvel Universe movies, right? Like that's kind of like the realm that we're working with. It's a superhero movie.
Yeah. No. That overarching theme and plot.
And I forgot to mention. Go ahead.
No, it's just it's not a bad idea. In theory, it was not executed well.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, and I forgot to mention at the top, one of the other movies I watched recently over the break was Looper, which is very similar.
Yeah, exactly. That's a perfect example of a movie like this with that premise.
Bruce Willis comes back from the future and is there to kill a child, and it's like, oh, it's great because this is a young kid and like he's gonna do something bad in the future, and like in Looper, it's interesting, but here it's just really, really bad. Like, why are these girls out to kill this guy? Like, no idea. What are their superpowers? Okay, I would love to touch away.
Because we never find out how these three get powers and become superheroes, or what kind of superheroes they are. We just
that's obviously the big problem, right? Is like early on in the movie they show us these in his vision, right? Them in their suits and like doing this cool shit. And you're like, oh, surely at some point we'll figure out how they get their powers and how they get trained in their ways, and we don't.
Nope.
We don't.
We end the movie and they're still just three teenage girls with no powers.
We just see another vision of them eventually getting to that spot, and it's like, which begs the question: is this the setup for its own series of Madam Web films?
I unfortunately had that thought, and good Lord, I hope not.
Yikes!
Yeah, there's no way.
Yeah.
And another thing that's really brutal, honestly, is the killing scene, the murdering scene, where, I mean, I don't remember exactly what the quote was, but it was terrible. But everything that we see in that dream sequence, we saw in the trailers. Like, we saw Sydney Sweeney hanging upside down. We saw her do that thing where she does this. I don't know what this does because I don't know what her fucking powers are. Yeah. It was just unbelievable that these characters have superpowers and they're going to kill this guy, but the superpowers are completely unexplained. It makes no logical sense, and you don't know what they are.
While we're on superpowers, can we talk about Madam Web's superpowers?
Please.
Yes. Can we first talk about how she got them?
What exactly are they? So, I think how she got them is pretty obvious, right?
Yeah.
Her mom was
but like
bit by the spider while she was being born, but then for 30 years she has no powers, and then one day she starts to have powers.
So I think
seeing into the future,
the water
like 10 to 15 seconds in advance.
Because she was born in that water.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, there
then
you go.
She goes into
There's the connection.
river,
Right.
and when she goes into the water, that's what triggers.
Yes.
Right. And then when
she's
she goes
saving
back,
the person from the car accident on the
Yes.
bridge, she falls in the water. The
And hits her
superpowers
head or
kick in.
and then
Her superpowers kick in because she had never been in water before this. This is her first time being in water. And so in 35 years or whatever. So
when I
the
put that
superpowers
together,
kick in. No, you're right. I think you're right, though.
no, I put it. That's why, because when I put it together that she went in the water and that's what triggered her powers, I thought in my
Right.
head, had she never swam before?
Right.
Had she never fallen into water, jumped into a lake? Like
every shower she takes, she's like, "Oh man, I feel a little weird." But it was just this time that it really.
It pissed me off so goddamn bad. Because like a lot of superheroes, there's a really interesting story for why the character gets a superpower. That's like
Right.
a big part of it. And
Kind of the
for
whole
this,
thing.
like,
yeah.
And
So all right, let's
it
talk
was just
about when she finds out more about her powers, though, because
yeah. And I do want to say that this is one of the things that I enjoyed. You know, it's going to be really easy to shit on this movie for an hour and a half, but I really liked how if a normal person were to start having instances where they see like, okay, it's not really the future. It's like
It's
5
like literally
seconds into
10,
the future.
15
Yeah.
seconds in advance. Yeah.
And I liked how they portrayed her kind of in this. Like they make her look like a crazy person. Like, didn't we just do this? Like she just, you know, I think that's one thing they did do a good job of, because I think we would all react the same way as Cassie did when this first started happening. Like, and I enjoyed that.
The one that was cool was when she saw the ambulance getting hit by the truck, and she tried to volunteer to drive, but then the dude was like, "No, I'm driving." Like, and then he gets hit, and she's like, "Oh, like that messed her up." I was like, that was powerful, right? That was like that was a powerful scene. There weren't a lot of them.
B-list actors. Mike Epps.
Mike Epps
was in this movie.
May he rest in peace in the movie.
One of the funniest people on the planet, and they did not give him any funny lines whatsoever.
I don't think he had a single line, right? Like a single joke.
He had a few lines, but he had no.
He just got roasted for burning the burgers.
Burning the burgers, yeah. Oh yeah. We're not going in order, and we're just shitting. So let's shit.
Yeah, let's shit.
So this goes back to her getting her powers, right? So she goes to Peru and gets thrown in the water, and that's when she really understands. Okay, if you are able to see the future and you're protecting these 3 girls from getting killed by a psychopath, one, she leaves them in the forest for 3 hours.
3 hours.
Yeah,
for 3 hours.
That was not great.
And
I also didn't like how the girls left their fire burning in the forest. And
I did notice as well.
So all that. So that alone. But then the psychopath comes back and tries to kill them. She knows this guy is hunting them. And then she says, I'm going to go somewhere in the Amazon in Peru. I have no idea where, for a week, and leave you with this guy who has no idea what's going on. You are very irresponsible fucking
hold on. So and this is maybe my fault. I was not super locked into this movie the whole time. I may or may not have played a couple games of chess during the movie on my phone. Did she actually go to Peru?
Yeah.
She actually went to Peru. She was a wanted criminal. She's a wanted criminal for kidnapping.
I missed this whole thing. I thought this was all happening in her mind.
So she calls her fucking EMT buddy to come to the motel, says, keep him at your house. I'm about to go down to Peru for a week.
A whole week. She went to
into
Peru.
The Amazon. Which is like you would think it's some far off place deep in the Amazon. Like they're not hiding just on the edge of the forest there.
Right. It's not like it's just easy to go to Peru one day.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when you're a wanted fucking kidnapper.
Yeah.
And she goes and leaves them for an entire week. And then she gets there. And I guess the guy's just sitting there waiting for her. Was he waiting there for 30 years for her?
Right.
Standing in that exact spot?
It's like, finally. God damn it. I've been sitting here for so long.
Oh my god, dude. Yeah. So that whole part just was like, what are we fucking doing?
Yeah, that was crazy. And then so she finds out that her powers are like, well, if you really tap into your powers, you can be more than one place at a time or something. Like, what was
You
that?
try really hard.
Right. Like, what the fuck are we
How does that
talking
work?
about?
How can we go from seeing the future to being in all these different places at once?
Yeah, like this multi-ghost thing situation. It made no goddamn sense.
So to again,
That's why I thought the whole thing was in her mind. I thought she was like talking to this guy through her mind powers. I didn't realize she actually went to fucking Peru.
yeah, and again, to be fair, one of Spider-Man's powers is he has they call it in the Tom Holland one the spider tingle, whatever. You have the sixth sense. You can basically the Spidey senses. Spider-Man can't see into the future, but he can sense something.
He can feel danger. Yeah. It's like immediately before it happens, though. Yeah.
This is an exaggerated power of that. Like she can see into the future. It's basically her spider senses. But like it's just and Madam Web, like it's the web, right? So she's connecting all the different parts of the web, and that's how she's seeing all of it. But Jesus fucking Christ.
It was really
few girls with you.
It was really goddamn dumb.
Yeah.
So I don't want to talk too much about the rest of it, other than the final scene, right? Can we go to are we ready to go to the final scene? So like the final fight scene, right, is that she decides that they should go into the building where
full of explosive shit.
It's full of fireworks, explosives, or whatever. Mostly fireworks. I don't really.
It had to have been fireworks, right?
Yeah, it's like fireworks on the dock building.
Because the Pepsi building, obviously.
Yeah, and it's got a Pepsi sign over
Pepsi was
it.
a big sponsor of this. She drinks Pepsi.
And she sees in her vision that she will be able to call a helicopter rescue to this building. And in the interim, while the helicopter's coming, she'll be able to lure this guy who was not able to find these teenagers at this dude's house in a week, but will find them instantly at this building. And then they'll set off a bunch of fireworks, like distract them or something. And then the chopper will take them away,
and he'll punches get blown up. Firework.
Well, so that was her vision. So then, in practice, they lure him there. There's fireworks going off. They're running her all around. And their plan is foiled because he, punches a firework midair into a helicopter. Crashing the helicopter. Causing all of the women, the teenage girls, to be put in situations of peril. Thank God for their fucking upper bodies and core strength that they were able to hold on to whatever rafters or things they were splayed from. And then she goes full Madam Web. Ghost saves them all over the place. And then she keeps seeing the sign, which I was like, what's going on with the sign? Like, why does she keep looking at the sign? It's so stupid. And she keeps like looking at the S of the sign because the S is kind of like falling or something.
Well, because she had seen in her vision that the S was going to fall.
Right. So then she keeps like doing that, and then like somehow the guy falls, but then it's the P actually that falls and crushes him.
And the thing that bothered me the most about that final scene is when she goes ghost mode and saves all three of them, her ghost self with each one of them, the writing is so bad. She goes to each one of them.
I've got you.
It's okay. You're gonna be. I got you. It's gonna be okay. It's like what?
Oh God.
That's what I say. That's what I say to my 2-year-old when he isn't getting the food that he wants. Like, it's gonna be okay, man. I'm here. It's okay. Like that. What in God's name?
Oh, that's so bad.
And then the spider monkey with super fucking powers is trapped underneath a couple of bars and can't get out of it.
Ugh.
I'm picking nits now, but Jesus fucking Christ, dude.
What was also really frustrating about this was that, like, in superhero movies, like these Marvel movies and shit, right? Like, it's always superhero versus superhero fighting, or like superhero versus superhero villain, right? Everybody's got superpowers. Like, could you ever imagine Thor fighting against a civilian? That has never happened, right? Because he would just crush their spine, like their skull in through their spine, out their anus, right? Like that would all happen in like one fell motion. And this guy couldn't beat up 3 teenage chicks with no powers. They don't have powers at this point. And they're like throwing shit at him. He's like, oh, and it's like, yeah, he got some shots in, right? He was winning, but like, bro, you're a superhero supposedly. There's just like chicks. What is happening here? Oh my god!
Yeah,
I was embarrassed for everybody involved, both the actual actors and actresses and the characters. And
it was
us for watching it. Yeah.
Like, I know that the actresses after have had a lot of things to say about how bad the movie was, and they're kind of ashamed by it, and they won't do it again. But all I could think of watching this was like, while you were filming this, did you think this was going to be a good movie? As you're spitting out these lines, do you think this is going to be a good movie?
So I will say, so are we good with the movie? Like the plot?
I mean, there's a lot that we didn't cover, but I do just want to give my one final beef. You know, I know you guys limit me.
Well, here. I want to talk about like some of the actresses.
I got one more beef too. Yeah. Go ahead, Lane.
Okay, my beef is the girl that works for Ezekiel Sims. She basically sits in front of the computer from The Dark Knight, and in The Dark Knight, it's like a moral dilemma. Like, we're using these phones to spy on the whole world, and it's like, should we use this? Should we not? It's like, it helps Lucius and Bruce Wayne kind of like have this turmoil, and it's interesting in that movie. And in this, it is some random ass girl who is helping out this guy who is trying to hunt and kill 3 girls for no reason. Like, why is she in on this mission? What is she doing? Why is she bought in? And why is she helping a man kill 3 teenagers? It just made zero sense to me at all. And like if the movie's 2 hours, explain it.
Yeah, who is this person?
But it's not like, yeah, dude. I was thinking that too. Like, who is this fucking chick, and why is she helping him? What's her fucking motivation here? Because she doesn't want him to kill her? Because it doesn't come across that fucking clear.
No.
Oh my god,
it was terrible.
The only last thing that I want to say plot-wise of the movie, and it's not even a plot thing, the final scene when Madame Web
loses her eyesight.
She's now
blind for some reason. When she get paralyzed?
And apparently
she's in a floating chair.
I missed the whole blinding paralyzation part of the fight, but
I rewound it and I was like, what is going on? I mean, she had to have gotten
hit in the water by a firework or something.
In the water.
But like she's got her glasses on, and she's in the floating chair, and that is how she sees them having courage and strength and this and
could
that.
Not have been a cheesier line.
And it one very incredibly cheesy line, but 2, I'm like, you couldn't, like, Professor X is in a wheelchair in all the X-Men movies, and
that's what I was thinking about, was Professor X. Yeah, he's
fucking awesome. She looks like fucking Helen Keller in that fucking, like, what are we doing here?
It was so bad.
Awful.
It was so bad.
Oh my god.
It was so bad.
It was just horrendous.
The only other plot point that I'll hit on that I kind of did like was where we find out that, because she's very angry with her mom the whole time, right? For like,
yes,
searching for spiders while she's this pregnant, and then we find out that actually she had this genetic disorder that was going to cause her to have all these deformations or physical limitations, whatever. and the mom knew that there was this spider that may help her baby, and that's why she was so obsessed with searching for this spider. That was like one of the few things I liked. I was like, that's good
Yes,
story
that was a good
development.
That was a good development. I
Yeah,
will agree, I did like
that's
that.
good character development right there.
Yeah.
So I'll give him that for that, but otherwise it's just like, dude.
All right, one more thing.
Okay.
We also saw the birth of Peter Parker, which was completely
Right,
pointless and stupid.
which is yeah, okay. So another part, this goes back to what I was talking about.
When did we see the birth of Peter Parker?
Because the uncle is Ben. With
The
Adam
uncle's
Scott's
Ben
character is
Parker.
Ben, is Uncle Ben.
Oh shit!
And so,
Right, and the baby that they were at the baby shower for, that's Peter Parker.
That's Peter Parker.
Which is like, again, it's like, so they were doing like the name guessing game, and no one ever
That changes
guessed
the whole movie for me.
No one ever
Now
guessed
it's
the
a
name.
10.
No one ever guessed the name Peter, or they never revealed that the name was Peter in the name guessing game. But yeah, the uncle was Ben. There was one line about, oh, well, Ben's gonna love being an uncle, and someone was like, oh, it's a lot more responsibility than you think, or something like that.
Yeah, Madam Web said that.
And he says
Yeah.
the line. And instead of "with great power comes great responsibility," which is the line we've all heard in every
Right.
Spider-Man movie, the quote is, "And when you take on responsibility, great power will come." It's like, fuck
Right.
you guys.
So,
Fuck you
yeah,
guys.
that was the only thing, is we know that there's Ben Parker. So that's that. I mean, we mentioned it earlier. They do set this movie up in a lot of ways to be some sort
Spider-Man
of
prequel-ish.
a series of movies that will lead to something. God knows what. Sony doesn't seem to have a lot of direction for what they're trying to do on the Spider-Man front, right? Like, they're kind of introducing it all in very haphazard fashion. We mentioned like Venom. They could. It seems like they should be able to mix in the Tom Hardy Venom with the Tom Holland Spider-Man at some point. Like, that should be doable, right? Like, these guys are all in the same team now with Sony and Marvel and making the movies. Like, so I don't know, man. I don't know what their goal is. I don't know
That
what the
at least
vision is.
answers one of my other questions: is why does this all happen in 2003? So I guess that
And
that answers that.
These girls are going to grow up to have superpowers, and
there's no way that
we don't hear anything about them ever.
No, there's no way these three actresses come back to do movies.
No, they're not.
To do this shit. So that's the only other thing I want to talk about is Sydney Sweeney. You know, we talked about how bad the acting is and how bad the writing is, and how there's a lot of corny lines, a lot of really poorly delivered lines, a lot of really bad. Sydney Sweeney, though, she's pretty good. She's good. She's a good actress. She's a good actress. And in this, I think she did as well as she could have done with what she was given in this movie. She wasn't given a lot.
Lane, any response?
No, I'm gonna let you take it.
No, she was terrible, dude. I'm sorry. She was awful.
I thought
a lot of it had to do with her lines and the writing.
I think the writing, what she was given, was really bad, and I think that she did with it.
I won't call her bad in this movie or her acting bad, but Jesus fucking Christ, it was not good.
See, for me, the one I think that did good with what they were given was Adam Scott. I mean,
Adam Scott's solid.
He was fine. I mean, he was something where he at least had some character and some personality, and at least something that was like.
So, well, I mean, I will say none of them were given anything good to work with here.
Bad. None of them were given anything bad. They were giving shit terrible.
It was terrible. Dakota Johnson, at times, also I did not think was terrible.
It's not the actor's fault.
That I think that Dakota Johnson, Sydney Sweeney, and Adam Scott, those three, with what they were given, were passable.
And
We're
Mike
okay.
Epps, he was passable. They just didn't give him any.
Well, Mike Epps,
any comedy.
Mike Epps
I
was
love
great.
Mr. Mike Epps.
Mike Epps was great.
Yeah,
we'll give him a very good grade, but the rest of them, with given very little and being not the best actors and actresses, right? We've already kind of lumped them all into B list territory, anyways. They were okay.
Man.
It was a goddamn movie. I tell you what. And that's the thing, like Keith, you mentioned,
you look
Keith, like we've heard.
You look so defeated, Keith. You look like you're in pain.
It was painful.
We had heard all how terrible this movie was, and even knowing how bad it was.
Look, this is a podcast. We can't review just good movies. We gotta step out of our comfort zone here and put ourselves through fucking 2 hours of pain.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Is like, why is this a 2-hour movie?
Yeah, I mean, they don't really make them a whole lot shorter these days. It's rare.
God damn it! This one could have easily been an hour 20
in and out, and 90 minutes would have been good. Yeah.
Yeah, and then maybe there would have been something halfway decent.
2 minutes was too long for this movie.
True. I'm trying to give it something. All right, boys.
It probably should have been made. Yeah, let's get into our segments here. Let's do it. Somebody introduced me for the box office stats.
Yeah, it's been a few weeks, but if I remember right, we're going to the financial corner with the money man. Give him your dollars, give him your cents. It's Luke Walker. Tell us about the dollars, boy.
This is not great. It's not horrible though. Surprisingly, not horrible. The budget for this film, we're estimating at a roughly $80 million, which is not crazy. It's also not nothing though. We did a bunch of movies in Oscar season that were right around that 100 million, so it's a little bit less than that. I can't imagine what like a normal. I mean, even just like let's look at Black Widow for a normal
MCU flick.
Kind
of run of the mill.
Yeah, this got to be way low. You know, Black Widow I picked because it was definitely a lower tier. 200 million for Black Widow. So this was way below at 80 million, right? So pretty low for what we would think of for these movies. Opening weekend in the United States and Canada, pretty shocking. 15 mil.
Jesus Christ.
And gross world. It did. And gross worldwide since inception, despite the fact that it's had horrible reviews, and even the actors and actresses in the movie talked about how terrible it was. I mean, Sydney Sweeney went on SNL and said she was not in the movie. I believe was her line, right? Was she basically denied being in the movie. It's just shy of $100 million.
Fuck.
And I think that at least one of us paid $20 to rent or buy this movie on Amazon Prime. So like it's still going to continue to rack up dollars. This movie's made $20 million plus in a month. So I'm going to give it a solid B. It's a B.
Knowing Sony, though, they'll throw another one at us in 6 years. So
they probably will because they have to.
They're going to.
Well, hopefully they do like another Venom, Venom 3 or something, and mix Spider-Man into it. And don't rush to make another one of these movies. But yeah, I mean, don't be surprised if we see another Madam Web flick.
Fuck.
By the way, Venom, because since it's a Sony Spider-Man world movie, Venom was a budget of $100 million. Granted, this was 6 years ago, so pretty substantially more. With inflation and everything, Venom did 850 mil.
Fucking Christ!
Made eight and a half times its money. It was solid. I liked it. I liked it.
Yeah, I never saw it.
Holy
It was cool.
fuck.
It was cool. Yeah, yeah.
Well, Keith, I need you. We're a little down in the dumps, and we're getting ready
I'm
to
not
talk about
bringing
some
my
beer.
change for this because I don't want to even learn about this beer. But we're gonna go to the beer corner with Mr. Good.
We've done this for 64 episodes, and that's the worst you've ever done. Ladies
Well,
and
this is
gentlemen,
the worst
this
beer
is
we've
the
drank.
really, I disagree. This is the Duchesse Cherry, or Duchesse Red is what it's called on the can. This I saw Duchesse Cherry on the website, on this website, and they must have changed the name. Duchesse Red. Obviously, we try and get the beers that are somewhat related to the movie. Madam and Duchess. Similar type words. She wears red. Boom. That's how we got to where we are today. This is a sour ale, and for the record, for the podcast, this is the first sour that we have drank. And by the sounds of the Spider Person and Keith, we're not fans. But this is a traditional Flanders red ale produced by, check this word out right here. Ready? Brouwerij Veergen in Belgium. The beer is a blend of 1 and 2-year-old Duchess de, check this word out right here.
Bourgeois.
Ooh, I like that. Bourgeois. Aged in oak casks with local sour cherries added to the maturing beer. Savor the flavors of cherries, vanilla, and passion fruit for the perfect balance of malts, fruity sweetness, and acidity. This website says 6.8%. The can, however, says 7%. So I'm going to go ahead and trust the can. It also says on the can that it should be served between 46 and 54 degrees Fahrenheit, which, sick. It also says brewed for 5 generations, and we're going to get a little bit into the history of the brewery right now. As I mentioned, it's out of Belgium, and I'm going to fuck up a lot of these words, so lock it in. Brewery Verhege Vichy is a small family-owned brewery in the southwest of the province of West Flanders, Belgium. The history of the brewery dates back to 1885. Check out that picture. I'm sure that's from 1885. Brewery Verhege Vichy was founded as a brewery malterie by Paul Verhege. Most of the Belgian breweries at this time organized their sales in the immediate vicinity of their brewery. We talked about this, I think it was in season 1, that refrigeration obviously really widened the expansion of beer delivery. You have to serve, or you have to distribute in a small area because your shit's got to stay cold. In this sense, we can say that Verhege Brewery already showed a great commercial activity in the previous period to the Great War through a railway line linking Vichy with Brussels. The Verhege Brewery was able to sell a significant part of its production on the Brussels market. So smart group here. At the outbreak of the First World War, Paul Verhege responded to the call of the Belgian government to resist German occupation economically by stopping production. The refusal of the brewery during the World War was responded in turn by the Germans by dismantling the brewery. So it was shut down during the World War. After 4 years of inactivity, the brewery had lost all of its customers in Brussels and was put in front of the investment of a whole new production equipment. In the post-war period, the brewery remained bind regionally and adapted to new trends in the market. The first brews of beer of low fermentation by the brewery date from this period. The brewery is focused also on the improvement of the quality of its existing beers. Check out that handsome motherfucker, Paul Verhege, right there. He looks beautiful. At the present time, the Verhege Brewery feels itself confirmed in its earlier choice, a little less but better, not only in Belgium but also far outside the Belgian borders. Obviously, we're in Nevada. The consumer prefers more and more beers of high quality with a unique identity. As we all discussed, this is our first sour, and I like it. The commercial success of the Duchess of Burgundy beer is the best proof, and they discuss a little bit about their kind of flagship beer, which we're not drinking, so we're not going to dive too much into it. Again, this is the beer that we're drinking. I believe, they only have the Duchess Cherry, the Duchess de Bourgogne, and that's it. Yeah, so that's the brewery. That's the beer that we drank. And even though you guys didn't like it for a sour, spoilers, not terrible. Keith, are you ready to play America's favorite game?
Let's play America's favorite game. This could get interesting. Rotten guesses.
This is going to get interesting.
I'm gonna have Keith go first.
Keith.
I mean, we all know that this was rated bad.
How bad? It's kind of the opposite of Oscar movies, where we kind of had a floor.
Yeah.
That we knew.
How
we
bad?
Definitely have a ceiling in this one, but where?
You know what? The name of this game for this movie is "How Bad Can It Be?"
Probably bad.
So I wanted to look up like the worst rated Rotten Tomatoes movies ever, and I didn't do it, and I'm glad I didn't.
It's got to be pretty low.
It's got to be in the running. I'm gonna guess the critics are like a 15, and I'm gonna guess that the audience. I feel like there's gonna be some audiences. One, like your wife, Lucas, who might actually like it. Two, who
Lauren loved it. By the way, she wanted everybody to know that Lauren loved the movie. She only watched the first 45 minutes. But
so yeah, well, two, I feel like there's going to be people in the audience who, going in with such low expectations, are going to give it a higher score. So I'll think the audience will be closer to like a 30.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm assuming I'm going to go next, so I'm just going to kind of jump on that wagon there. Keith, I'm absolutely in agreement that the critics are going to be shitting on this movie compared to the audience. There's no way the critics like this more. I think you're a little high for both. I'm going to go, I don't think it's going to be single digits, but I'm going to go 10 and I'm going to go 25. I'm going to go 10 on the critic score and 25 for the audience. Just an absolute dumpster fire.
I agree with you guys that it's going to be low. By the way, hadn't brought this up before. Really frustrating. The movie's called Madam Web, W-E-B, but her name is Cassandra Webb, W-E.
With two B's.
Very dumb. Anyways, I think you guys are a little low. I just don't know that the floor could be that low. I'm going to go critics 31.
No way.
I think it's going to be bad, but I don't think it's going to be as bad as you guys have pitched it. And I'm going to go audience 40.
Okay. You got it, Lucas?
That seems high. Those seem high.
Oh, my God. Well, okay. Wow. Oh, my God. Okay. Jesus Christ. Okay. Are you guys ready? Jesus. Are you guys ready for the critics? Are you guys ready for the critics?
Is it single digits?
Yeah. It's not quite single digits, but it's damn close. A 12.
Wow.
But a 57 from the audience.
I after I gave my audience score, I thought I should have gone higher.
Yeah. So your boy, I think, is gonna win the audience today. Keith, hey, do you guys?
You're gonna win the audience, but one.
No, Lane wins.
No,
the
I'm 2 away. I think I get the audience.
You went 10.
Yeah, Lane went 10. I went 15.
And Lane,
thank God.
You guys had it. You guys had it surrounded
this week. Except I honestly think. I think we're all losers this week because we had to watch this fucking movie. But, starting out season 3, I got 32 points from the jump. So that is not ideal. Obviously, we're trying to go the closest we possibly can to the Rotten Tomatoes score. And starting out episode 1 of season 3 with a 32 points is just terrible. Just a big old ball and not great. We did Keith first for the rotten guesses. So you want have Keith go first here?
Yes, after your 10 seconds of cutting out. I don't have anything to say. It gets a fucking 2 from me.
I guess
Lane,
I'm the one who didn't have any service. You gave it a 2. I didn't hear your review,
you
Keith.
glitched out pretty good.
I didn't give it
a
a
2.
review. I gave it a 2.
Yeah, Lane, you're glitching out pretty good. Keith gave it a 2.
Love that. Great. Man. I hope I am not glitching out anymore, but a 2 for me makes sense. It was terrible. It was just a complete waste of time. 2 in my ranking is unwatchable, and I agree that it was.
And you watched it
unwatchable.
twice.
I watched it twice. But that being said, I didn't like this more than Zone of Interest, but I found myself being more mad and angry at Zone of Interest because I didn't believe what it stood for. This was just a complete and utter disaster of a movie, but I wasn't angry while watching it. I'm going to go with 3.5.
I actually, it's so funny because I thought about Zone of Interest while I was thinking about what I was going to rate this, because I was like, if you were to ask me, do you want to watch Zone of Interest or Madam Web again, right, tomorrow, which one do you want to watch for movie night? I would pick Madam Web because I fucking despised Zone of Interest.
Wow.
And would never want to watch that movie ever again. Which is not to say that I want to give this movie a super high score or would want to watch it again. I'm going to give it a, yeah, Lane, I think you're right in the right range. I'm going to give it a 3.4. It's bad.
3.4.
It's not good. It's really bad.
As you guys know, usually we kind of run through movies that are kind of in the ballpark, but obviously there's nothing that's in this ballpark, so there's no point in doing it. One thing I do want to just kind of mention, I'm not even going to mention, not even worth my time. I apologize. I'm not going to mention anything. Are we ready to talk about beer? Keith, Fuchs,
Yep.
You hate this beer. I can tell. Luke, you hate this beer, but Keith, let's start with you. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I didn't like this beer. I'm not a big sour guy to begin with. The first whiffs of it smelled like a cherry fucking sucker or something / cough syrup. And I feel like I've been drinking cough syrup for the last hour and a half. And I don't like that. I don't like it one bit. I will give it credence that it is a beer that's 7%, and it's at least gotten me a little bit of a buzz-ish. So I'll give it a 4.
What a terrible night for Keith Fuchs. The team he wanted to win in the March Madness tournament lost. He watched a terrible movie and drank a terrible
beer.
How many did you have, my friend?
I've had 2.
And what are you going to do with the other 2?
It's a Friday night. A Friday night episode, I'm usually like going fucking at least 4. I put down 2. If we want to stick around after, I guess I'll drink another just for the sake of it. But Jesus,
my man, I'm going to do it too. I agree with you that I'm not a sour fan. Usually when I drink a sour, you get that little tightness in the back of your
face right there. Yeah.
That looks like he just saw a ghost or he shit his pants.
I just did both.
But for me, it wasn't terrible. I actually kind of enjoyed this. I didn't think the sour was
wrong with you.
I didn't think the sour was too much. Out of all the sours I've ever had,
the sour that's too much. It's the taste that's too much.
I enjoyed this more than any other sour I've ever had. Granted, like you said, it's a Friday night podcast, and I am, getting through my third. As you guys know, in these podcasts, I'm typically putting down about 6 beers. So I mean, that should tell you a little bit of kind of what I'm going through. This was okay. I'm going to give it a 6. and I had 3
A
of them.
6?
Yeah, it was okay.
You just like anything that gets you fucking drunk.
My man.
Yeah, I
Lucas,
mean,
what do you think about the beer?
I generally hate sours. I've always just not liked. It's just gross, man. And this is, I will say, maybe the best sour I've ever had, which is a low bar. But sours in general. I mean, you guys have seen my face throughout. Like, I can take little sips and be fine, but like if I take like a big swig, I'm just like,
Yeah. So I've been drinking whiskey recently, just so you guys know. And the face I make after drinking I'm like whiskey on the rocks, like straight whiskey.
Yeah, I'm with you. That's what I do.
And the face I make from drinking this is worse than the face I make when drinking straight whiskey, which
yeah,
that's because you're not drinking good whiskey.
I just don't. I think for me, sours are capped at a 5. If this is the best sour I've ever had, I'll give it a 5. Yeah, like I didn't hate it totally, but it's just ugh.
It still has it leaves an aftertaste too. That's awful.
It's awful.
Yeah, I think the taste I'm going to have when I wake up in the morning is going to be absolute dog shit. But
it's going to be the price of puke.
Cans are pretty cool.
The cans are cool. I do like that the top of the can is black.
Like, I've never seen that. I've never seen that before. Yeah.
Sure. All right, you get 0 points for your fucking.
I will award you 0 points.
0 points. How many did you have?
I'm struggling to get through my second one.
Well,
I award you 0 points, and may God have mercy on us.
That's it. Nailed it, Keith. Well, gentlemen, that was
a fucking episode.
That was an episode. It wasn't really the episode that we really wanted to start the season with, but
or was it?
Or was it? It was the start of season 3. Luke, you started out as the voice of the critics this year. I started out as the voice of the. Oh no, I fucked that up. You started out as voice of the audience. I apologize. Reverse. And I am the voice of the critics. It's a great way to start. But this is just the beginning of a long journey. And Keith, you are the next voice of this journey. What are you thinking for our second movie? We just watched the worst movie that this podcast has ever watched.
I'm going to turn our spirits around.
Roadhouse.
Oh,
We're fucking
watching. You. We are watching Roadhouse. Let's fucking do it. Jake Gyllenhaal, Conor McGregor. We're watching Roadhouse. And Lane, I am doing this specifically because you picked this goddamn shit beer.
Okay, because of the beer.
And because you keep trying to knock Roadhouse. And I am excited to see it, honestly. It's going to be better than Madam Web. It can't be worse. So
it cannot be worse than Madam Web, but it is not going to be good. And if this is how we're starting year 3, gentlemen.
If you go in with a negative fucking mindset, you're going to get Roadhouse.
You're getting Roadhouse.
Sorry, sir.
Yeah, we're watching Roadhouse. And this is not a joke. We're watching fucking Roadhouse. Let's
go.
I cannot wait. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is season 3, episode 1 of A Beer and Review. It's a pleasure, gentlemen, as always. We had a few weeks off, and even though this movie didn't really bring us back in full force, this is something we were excited to talk about. We did it, and I still had a goddamn blast.
The podcast don't miss, even if the movie does.
Exactly. Well, gentlemen, as always, thank you for your time. I love you so much. Cheers.